What's up, y'all? I hope you're doing well. I had to restart the video because I started coughing, but we had one card jump out, so I'm putting a pin in that. Welcome. We're here for our weekly manifestation oracle message. This is when we are just taking a look at the week ahead to see where we need to put our energy and intention, where it concerns our manifestations and goals and things that we want to see through. So the first card out when I was shuffling and I had a coughing fit was self-employment. You're a born entrepreneur and your business is surrounded by magical opportunities. I love this. I don't know what she's holding, but it looks like she has some kind of big old fish spitting water into the ocean. What is this? I can't make it out. Oh, it almost looks like a pea pod, and she's dumping pearls into the water. So it's like she's overflowing with treasures and wisdom, and it's like a seed pod of pearls going into the ambiotic waters of the ocean. So I love this. Our wisdom is yielding fruit, and we have what it takes to nurture these ideas. And this full moon, so happy full moon in Sagittarius, where all of these new ideas and clarity and new mindset and outlook and perspective that Gemini new moon, those seeds, those pearls that were planted in us in the new moon of Gemini, they're now coming into fruition and expanding. Like during the spring here in Nashville, we had all this rain. We had storms and rain every day. And my garden has never been so flush. And when that happens, it's cloudy, for days and weeks on end. And you're just like, wow, is this going to drown the plants? And then in one sunny afternoon, you look up and everything has just grown so much. It's just flourished and blown up. And so I feel like that's kind of what this energy of this full moon is doing. That Sagittarian influence is magnifying and expanding anything that we give it, right? So think of the turkey. The turkey tells us the same message. The more that we give to the turkey, the bigger the feast that we will have from the turkey. So what we put in, we will get out. And so anything that we give to Jupiter, any effort, any actions taken, Jupiter will expand whatever we give it. So that's very exciting. So if you have a business, feel encouraged. It's surrounded by magical opportunities at the moment. So something fortunate, like a catalytic plot point in your story could be coming soon, where you might feel a bit tired or wondering if you're plateauing or wondering if you're going the right direction. Sometimes think about Math Lady, right? When you're driving on a long road trip, and say you're driving out through the desert and everything's just sort of flat and looks the same, or through the Midwest, right? And you're going and there's no exit for a long time, and you've been driving for over an hour, right? And Map Lady hasn't chimed in a long time. Sometimes that can feel eerie, because you're are we still on the track? Did we miss our exit? Surely they would have said something. And, Map Lady does chime in, but we don't have Map Lady in real life. We do, but it's a very quiet, subtle Map Lady. And so we don't always hear it as clearly as she, when she says, make a U-turn, recalculating. So a lot of times we are going in the right direction. It's just that we haven't needed any input in a minute. And so it's just yeah, carry on, keep going. So I think this is just the universe saying, look, you have something here. There's something worthwhile. Keep continuing to put the effort in, and the breakthrough will come. Our second card out is set your sights higher. Increase your standards and expect more for yourself. Don't settle. Now, I'm going to alter this message a little bit, because the thing that we have been learning about ourselves recently is that we have been selling ourselves short by not expecting maybe enough from ourselves. Like we haven't been consistent enough or followed through, and that there may be a lot of things in your life, and maybe there's one thing that you're putting so much work into and you're like, how can you say this? I'm putting so much work into this, but maybe you're neglecting another area, right? So like everything kind of works together, and you have different manifestations and different dreams that you're trying to manifest. And so they're all, it's like a woven tapestry, right? So think about where you can increase your standards of what you expect for and from yourself. Anything that we achieve in life is it's gonna take more out of us than we are already, putting out. And people who excel and grow and, push the envelope and push the standards and push the pin forward, like they put themselves outside of their comfort zone. And this could be different for everyone, right? Like one person may be trying to achieve a goal that takes a lot of work. And so they might have to, spend extra time in the morning or at night doing that. Another person may be too driven and need to be able to take a step back, and it's harder for them to give themselves days of rest. And so for you, that's the work. That's the tikkun correction. So with tikkun, and this is our soul correction, and it's like the work that we do that relieves our karma. And tikkun is kind of like nuanced for everyone. But a general idea or statement that you can remember about tikkun that will help you when you're trying to figure out what's life asking of me? How does God want me to show up for this? What do I do in order to correct this? What's the right action? The right action is usually the one that's harder for you to do. The one that makes you feel like, oh, I don't want to, like it's the one that you're resistant to. So if it's easy for you to jump in and work harder and, pick up too many shifts and not, take enough breaks, or push yourself until you burn out because you want to have approval and you think that's what makes you worthy and that's what gives you love, then the challenge for you would be allow yourself those days of rest, because that is an act of surrender and trust that the Creator is co-creating with you. It's not all on your shoulders, and that the Creator's got you, and that you also are worthy and deserving of rest. And it's not your output that makes you worthy, but your essence and your mere beingness. So that would be a stretch for some people, right? So it's hard to, there's so many examples you could do. Like for instance, if you're a very confrontational person and there is something about your goal that is requiring like some kind of conversation or some form of interacting with a person, and it's easy for you to just quickly go at something and not think much of it. Maybe the universe wants you to take a step back and think about things carefully and put more thought into how you're approaching this individual before you approach them. If you're a shy person and you avoid interaction and confrontation and whatnot, and you're avoidant of communication, then the universe would be saying, all right, you need to get out there. You need to put yourself out there. You don't need to overthink everything you're saying. You need to just take a chance to make a mistake and see that you survive from it, kind of thing. Does that make sense? It's usually asking you to do the opposite of what comes easily or naturally. Say you're a very generous, giving person. If you are always giving, and you're like, the first thing you do is like share, and you're always like the one that's giving to everyone and taking care of it, but it's hard for you to receive, then you might want to consider like, what are you really giving, or is there an unconscious expectation attached to your gift that you want someone's approval or affection in exchange for your generosity. Like some people feel that they're not worthy just by being there, so they feel like they have to go out of their way to like pick up the check, or I mean, it's always good to be generous and share and treat people, but we all know that person that it's like they always do it, and you almost feel like you're worried that they're overextending themselves, and you worry that they feel like they have to, or they're expected to, and then it makes you feel weird, right? So in that case, that person has a tikkun of a right column tikkun, which is a column that tends to be sharing to the detriment of the person receiving and to the self. And so then there's two columns of tikkun, the right column tikkun and left column tikkun, when you like boil everything down to like the most general categories. And the left-hand tikkun is the side of the tree that deals with judgment. So the left-hand tikkun person would be more selfish. And so their correction would be to be less selfish and more sharing and more selfless and self-sacrificing. That's the ask of them, is to be more giving. However, the person who's overly giving and it's codependent and it's like enmeshed and you're like expecting something, or maybe you're not expecting something, maybe you're just 100% sharing, but you're sort of oversharing and it's actually doing damage to the receivers. That needs to be pulled back a little bit. When you look at all of the fruits and the virtues, they're all good as long as they're in balance. But when we go out of balance, they become vices, right? Okay, so set your sights higher, increase your standards, and expect more for yourself. Don't settle. So I'm going to say here, increase your standards for yourself and expect more from yourself. Don't settle. So oftentimes when the universe brings us these things in our soul that we need to work on, we don't connect them to our goals necessarily because it's not a logical, reasonable step that's involved in our goal. So they seem unrelated. But a lot of times the goal is blocked because you can't go to the next phase of your story until you work this thing out. So do make the effort in your transformation and in your awakening and elevating your actions and your consciousness, because that's the general assignment right now anyway. And feel empowered that you have something valuable. You're a born entrepreneur, and your business is surrounded by magical opportunity. But the key to unlocking that opportunity is that inner transformation. All right, let's get another card. Okay, break free. Try different ventures and experiences as a way to grow and learn. So if you're in a rut, maybe break free from the same old routine and try something different. Mix it up. Try a different approach. Maybe it's something mundane like another software, or trying to mix up your workflow. Maybe you've been in an environment that is stagnant and it's not lifting you up any longer, and it's starting to give you negative feelings all the time. I grew up dreaming of working in film and television and being involved in movies and all of that. And it was my dream all my life. And I went and I did it. And it was great while I still loved it, while it was, while I was still passionate about it, it was still fun. But over the years, as I got my fill for it, it just began to be something that was just crushing and heavy and too much and not worth it. And I started to have would be in these low vibrational thoughts and feelings the whole time I was there. And I knew it was like I was done, like it was complete. There was nothing left for me in that industry anymore. It was really hard to walk away from it because it was like you're letting your dream die and you have to grieve it. but it's not really your dream anymore. There's something else. There's something beyond this. And sometimes you can't see it. I didn't have another career that I was like jumping into. When I left, I decided I was going to work at this nice dinner place that my nephew and his wife worked at. And that's where I am at now. And I love it. I've had a good time. But even before that, before the film industry, I used to work as a server. I would work in restaurants, and I had so much anxiety and I hated it. And it made me miserable. It made me sick. It made me like older looking. It was like, I was in a living hell. And that's when I was like really wanting to get in film. And I was like, why can't I just be in film full time? And so it's so funny because I went full circle. I went from hating like working in restaurants. And I mean, I worked in places where it set me up to hate it. And so I understand now how to get around that. So then I went into my dream career and worked for a little over a decade, over 13 and a half years, and loved it until I didn't. And then it was horrible. And it was like, it brought me into a negative vibrational state all the time. And then I left. And I knew it was time to leave. All I knew was the next like little signal, the voices, like God was giving me these synchronicities. It was just like, go to this restaurant. And so now I work at this restaurant, and I have for a few years, and it's been, challenging in its own ways. But overall I like enjoy serving. And it's so funny because my whole consciousness is different around it this time. I was like going there like on purpose. And I could see the things that were valuable about that job. Like it was close to my house. It's in a really cute, whimsical, city suburb. It's a beautiful building. It's an antique building. There's like, it's like a warehouse, and there's like big, pieces of art everywhere, and it's really unique. And there's like a million candles and wood fire, open French kitchen. I don't know, it's just super cool. And I love it. And the people there are quirky. And so it's been inspiring, right? But if you're feeling miserable, you're going to continue to feel trapped and contracted. And I remember during those times when I was so miserable, like I literally, I was inflamed. My health was suffering. And now I work really hard at this restaurant, and like sometimes I'm achy, but like overall I just feel really good, and I'm happy, and I have a good time. So don't be afraid to break free and try something new. Try something that you've never done. It could lead to so many new things. Perfect example. During COVID, I worked at a science lab. I was the person like preparing the test samples coming in and putting them in the little trays and getting them ready for like the test machines, and like entering the data entry. And it was like an action movie, like in a distant rural lab, a woman like late at night under the lamplight, just like entering data about this pandemic breaking out. It was so funny. So I just made it fun, right? Most people would be like, wow, what a boring job. It was boring. It was relaxing. It was soothing. It was in one of those random little office buildings that are like behind like a little strip mall. And you're like, what goes on in there? I was in one of those buildings. There's like a 1-floor elevator. Like no one ever goes to the bathroom, but there's a bathroom there. It's like you never see anyone else in the hall. It's incredible. But I worked there for a couple of months. My sister ran the lab, and we had a good time, and it was an easy, fun job. But while I was there, like I didn't think it was gonna like lead to a career. But while I was there, I met a girl who also just had like randomly ended up there, just like to have an extra job. And she was a copywriter, and she told me about copywriting, like as a career, as a freelancer. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a career I could age into, right? So, you never know how breaking out of your normal routine can lead to something that is surprisingly better than you thought it was going to be, or that gives you an answer that you've been looking for that you're not expecting to find there, right? So maybe, yes, the lab didn't prepare me for a future in accessioning samples and data entry. But it was a neat experience, and it gave me the courage to do something that was completely out of my wheelhouse. And while I was there, I met someone who gave me something that would be in my wheelhouse. So break free, try different ventures and experiences as a way to grow and learn. Okay. And now one last card from the Magical Mermaids and Dolphins, and then we'll grab a couple from the Wisdom of the Hidden Realms. I don't think it was that one. Our favorite girl with the long hair. She has that Blue Lagoon hair that covers the boobs. I don't know if y'all have ever seen the movie Blue Lagoon with Brooke Shields, but every girl growing up, at least in my age group, we weren't really Blue Lagoon generation, but we all watched Blue Lagoon because it was our old movie. And all the girls that I ever grew up with wanted long hair that was was long enough to cover boobs if you were like dressed like this on a deserted island. Side tangent finished. So a new dawn, yay! The worst is now behind you and positive new experiences are on the horizon. So this is great. That's always relative. The worst part of the day is over. Tomorrow is a new day. But yes, I have pulled this card in times where I was really scared about real threatening situations and that loomed on the horizon. And I was just like kind of sitting on pins and needles. And this card kept coming up assuring me that everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. So the worst is now behind you. And positive new experiences are on the horizon. And I did dismiss it because I was just like, you know what? This is just a silly oracle card. And I'm like, why am I dismissing this? They always end up being accurate. But I was having more faith in my fear than in the positive messages that God was trying to like soothe me with. That God was trying to say like, hey, everything's going to be okay. You know, your spirit team, your legions of angels are here with you. We're guiding you through the situation and everything's going to be fine. But instead of like having a peace and a faith in that, I had more faith in the fear. I was like, everything's going to be terrible. They're going to throw the book at me. I was waiting like a court date and I had 5 charges against me, which I ended up getting, like all of them got dropped. Teflon Don in the courtroom. They try to be throwing shit, but ain't nothing sticks. Megan Thee Stallion. So yeah, that sucked. So I was waiting. It was like right around COVID time when that happened. And so it was like the December right before lockdown. And then all the court dates got pushed back. And I was just like waiting for a year. Like, I'm like, am I going to go to jail? And what had happened, sorry, this is going to be a quick story, but I had like one of the worst migraines of my life and it took me out for days. But I ended up, long story, skipping all the details, got pulled over on the way home from the studio. I was working on a show and it was like 7-month long production. And these were like the longest days ever. And I was in 2 weeks of night shoots. So I was leaving in the middle of the night to go home. Worst migraine in my life. Diarrhea, needing to stop somewhere to go to the bathroom. It was like 2 a.m. and got pulled over and my car smelled like weed. And they took me in assuming that I was driving under the influence. And they said I failed the field sobriety test, but I know I didn't. And they just were trying to make an example of me. And yeah, so then I had to go get a blood test, all this stuff. So anyway, they added up all the charges. I mean, they even said that I was like, they basically accused me of like leading them in a high-speed chase. I really didn't. I did not. That's not true. At least I don't think it was. Like, I did not high-speed chase. They tried to make it seem like I was. I was like, no. But yeah, anyway, all the charges got dropped, but it took a year for it to all get sorted out. And it's so scary in the meantime. But, the altar priestess, I saw this when I was shuffling. Preparation, prayer, sacred ritual. So I think that, you know, this is, okay, so what I describe this full moon as is like a reboot. Like, we have just stripped the hard drive. We've put a bunch of new operating systems and apps and software into our hard drive. And now we need to restart the computer. We need to reboot the computer. And everybody that I know is just like mixed nuts the last couple of days. We're like, nothing is making sense. So I think we all need like a little reboot, reset. So if you can honor a nice little Sabbath or Shabbat. My manager asked me if there was a cut that came up tomorrow, if I wanted it. I was like, yes, please reach out, because I actually picked up a shift tomorrow and I was like, I just needed those 2 days. So I'm so excited. But if you can take some ritual time with yourself to be with your thoughts, do some journaling, do that fun planning journaling. It's not all heavy lifting, right? You don't have to like gush out your, all of your demons into the page. You don't have to bleed in ink. Just do that whole, like, this would be fun, and, write your ideas out and give yourself some ritual time to kind of reset, reboot, get refocused, hone in again, and give yourself an order of operations and an order of priorities of like what you want to be putting your energy into. I think that when we can give ourselves space from something and come back at it like renewed, it's so powerful. But also in the meantime, praying and connecting with the Creator. And this week has been a lot about co-creating with the Creator, asking for help from the Creator, spending time connecting with the Creator through your co-creation. It's like when you are excited to cook with your date, and spend that time together and make something together. And it's all the more special because you did it together, right? So I think just too, connecting with ourselves and our own soul, like we were just talking about, getting excited about our creativity and where our soul is craving to go, where the soul is desiring to pull our attention. And then spending time with connecting with God and bringing God into the plans and asking for help and guidance and assistance, and spending some time doing some sacred ritual, some rest, some things that fill up your soul. And again, like doing a little bit of research and development, using this Gemini and Sagittarian energy to get curious, to get adventurous, to get studious, and to get deep in it, and expanding your ideas and expanding your scope, and looking at being more like big picture oriented, but also having the clarity and the focus to get into the details as well. So that's really using the fullness of this Gemini Sagittarian influence at the moment. All right, one last card. This one's teasing me. Oh my gosh, Sacred Union. We've been talking about sacred union for the last 2 weeks. This is that alchemical marriage of things coming together within us. Our heart, mind, soul, body, strength is aligning. The spirit is coming through into the material. We are expressing that through the embodiment. The metaphysical is becoming physical in the embodiment of our transformation, our actions and our words and our deeds. That is how God is expressed in this world, through the human vessel, right? And so, and simultaneously, when our internal feminine and our external masculine, the personality, come together in that sacred union and balance, then that too is when our soul and spirit are, they can pull that veil back and come into holy union with the Creator, with the divine. And that's when we're at our fullness, right? When we're fully human and fully animal and fully divine and fully realized, right? Partnership and romance. And in like we were saying, when the metaphysical is brought into the physical, it's not just in our new expression of this new character. So one of the other things that I've been thinking about this full moon energy is doing is it's like we've started the new series, Life Us, right? We're into, this has been happening over the last year or so. Like we're a couple of seasons in, but it's like all of a sudden it's like we're this like brand new version of the character coming in, and we're really fully embodying like this new sense of self. It's like in Greece when what's her name, Sandy, when Sandy goes from good girl to bad girl, and she gets all leatherfied and spandexed so she can be in her full expression of herself, so she can be with her equal Danny the greaser, right? Same. It's like we're coming into this union with the next level of ourself. And so this is like the perfect moment in the story for another symbolic representation of this is this union within ourself, within our God, and then union in a romantic interest in the plot. Makes it all the more interesting, doesn't it? Right? So our romantic lead might be entering the story soon, and we've been getting a lot of messages indicating that. I think we had soulmate come up during our lunar workshop. We've had it come up recently in our romance oracle readings. So there could be love on the horizon. All right, y'all. That is it for tonight. I'm excited at the thought of maybe being off work tomorrow, so maybe I'll be making my video earlier. We'll see. But either way, tomorrow's our romance oracle reading, so that'll be fun. And then also this weekend, Saturday night, Secret Teachings of Jesus episode is going to be a part 2 of last week's lesson. And I'm excited because all week long, every podcast that I have listened to from my teachers through the Kabbalah Center have been expanding on the ideas that we brushed on in last week's episode of Secret Teachings of Jesus. It was like this portion that we chose coincided with the Torah portion for the week in a crazy way. And I think that happens all the time. And I realized it recently, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so crazy. And then I'm like, it's not really crazy. That's exactly how it works. But it's like, oh my God, it's crazy. So I'm going to do a part 2. And I'm going to see if I can get one of my other electronic devices to be able to use that. Because I don't know, the thought of like trying to like figure out how to download all this footage, I don't think I can. Like edit it in and splice it. I'm just like, I'm going to just like hold up my other phone or like the iPad. I'll get that going. I got the iPad. I'll get it going. I'll get it set up. All right, y'all. Peace. See you later. Y'all, I just realized that today is Wednesday and not Tuesday. And today I meant to film our alchemy message, but I was a day off because of our lunation workshop. So I will film our alchemy message tomorrow, and we'll catch up tomorrow and get back on our regularly scheduled content.